In this world, girl's dream is to marry a prince, but the prince was holding a grape and publicly proposed to an ugly girl. If you eat my strawberry, then you have to become my bride. Then I'll spit it out and give it back to you. Fortunately, her mother reacted quickly and promptly covered the girl's mouth. To avoid unnecessary trouble, little Leia had no choice but to deliberately make herself look dark and ugly every day. But not only did she fail to make Prince Ace dislike her, instead, she unintentionally captured the heart of a prince from a neighboring country. The girl was originally a novelist in modern society who had practiced for 2.5 years, but she unexpectedly transmigrated into a book and became the heroine's older sister, who did not exist in the original story at all. At the beginning, when her mother was pregnant, she had prayed countless times that her younger sister would not be born. Seeing his daughter crying so sadly, her father gently patted Leia on the back. Even if mommy is holding your little sister, mommy will always be Leia's mommy. What the heck? Was she really the kind of little brat who cried and threw tantrums because she was afraid her parents would be taken away? But looking at her father making faces at her, the girl's tears suddenly stopped. So ugly, so ugly. I made you so handsome. Was it really just so you could use that face to coax children, you jerk? Lucy and Julian. The two of them were both characters from Leia's novel, and also the parents of the protagonist Roina. But this story was different from ordinary novels. After all, how could angst ever be sweeter than fluff? She had not written it like a typical novel where both the heroine and the second male lead had unhappy childhoods, because only if childhood was sweet enough could it bring out the bitterness of the future. Although the ending of the story was beautiful, the hardships the protagonist had to go through would still be painful. So, until the very last moment, she was still praying that Lucy would not give birth to a daughter. But Roina still truly came into her life. But no matter how much Leia denied it, Roina was still her most beloved little sister. Lucy and Julian were also characters she had personally created. The one who should never have been born was actually herself. Because her body was still too small, Leia felt sleepy all day long. The girl, who was napping, was suddenly woken up by Julian. Little Leia, come play with daddy. How about we go have some tea together? But Leia did not understand why Julian had come back so early today. Of course, it's because I was worried you'd be bored. But today I got His Majesty's permission, so it's fine. I practically lay down right in front of him and insisted that he let me go home early no matter what. Leia lazily yawned. She should never have made him a character who slacked off all day in the first place. And now, sure enough, he was always sneaking off from work and coming to disturb her sweet dreams. Julian leaned gently closer to Leia. You'll live with daddy forever, right? That night, Leia still couldn't help complaining to Lucy about her father. She always felt that what daddy said at the end sounded a little strange. Gently stroking the child before her, Lucy asked softly, then little Leia, what do you think? Of course, I'll live forever with daddy and mommy, and Ina too. But she still didn't understand why Julian had suddenly asked such a question. Maybe it's because the prince of the neighboring country is going to be separated from the king for a very, very long time, so daddy thought of you. The three great families that possess special powers were destined to sacrifice themselves for the world, so most of them were powerful only in name. Although the current emperor of Azur was an exception, he pushed reforms together with Julian and Lucy, and only then became an emperor who truly held power. But the neighboring country was the complete opposite. The one in power now was the queen, while the king was only her puppet. In order to let her biological son inherit the throne smoothly, she kept tormenting Ryan. And Ryan was the male lead of this novel. The king, who had no power at all to protect his own son, could only send Ryan to the empire under the pretense of studying abroad. Because they were close in age, Ryan grew up together with Prince Ace, although they were together for only 1 year. For Ryan, who had an unfortunate childhood, that was the only year in which he could feel happiness. Little Leia angrily ran to Julian's study. She hoped he could help this pitiful prince. Why do you suddenly want me to save the prince of the neighboring country? Julian was a little confused. If you save the prince, then you can get the neighboring country. Little Leia looked innocent and naive. But daddy doesn't want the neighboring country. Then give the neighboring country to the prince. Anyway, there's no harm in making friends with the king of the neighboring country. Otherwise, I'll punish you by making you run 1 lap around the earth. On the other side, Prince Ace was happily eating grass cake. Beneath that brilliant smile was a child as angelic as an actual angel. The Empress leaned close to Ace and said softly, Ace, very soon you're going to meet a new friend. Putting down the grass cake in his hand, a new friend?
Which family are they from?
Though his tone was childish, it carried a maturity beyond his years. She is the Theo family's young lady, a cute little sister 1 year younger than you. It's Leia. Do you know her? I remember you've never met. The Empress looked puzzled. Ace obediently nodded. Father told me before that she will become my bride in the future. At breakfast the next day, looking at little Leia, who was eating with great appetite, Julian asked her somewhat awkwardly whether she wanted to go to the palace once with daddy and mommy for fun. Not understanding why Julian was suddenly saying this, she refused cleanly and decisively. Only later did she learn from Lucy that the ducal family seemed to have a marriage arrangement with the royal family. But that clearly wasn't in the original story. Wait, no. In the original story, Roina was clearly the only heir of the Theo ducal house. But now, counting herself, weren't there too? So even if someone married into the royal family, it wouldn't affect the inheritance issue. But Prince Ace had been secretly in love with Royna since childhood, and a terrible premonition surged into her heart. If she got engaged to him, wouldn't everything be thrown into chaos in the future? So bringing her into the palace definitely wasn't just a simple visit for fun. Once Royna's special power appeared later on, then in that case, she herself, a noble-born girl with no abilities at all, would naturally become the royal family's daughter-in-law. She absolutely did not want to become empress. Although the status was high, there was far too much to do. It would be much better to inherit the family property and spend her whole life eating, drinking, and having fun. And on top of that, getting engaged to a little brat who was only 5 years old was simply outrageous. Although Leia didn't want to go, seeing the troubled expressions on Lucy and Julian's faces, she really had no other choice. Anyway, Ace would like Royna in the future, so she just needed to use this chance to make him dislike her first. A few days later, Leia arrived at the palace as promised. Her black silver long hair, set off by her princess dress, was stunningly beautiful. When she lifted those big doll-like eyes of hers, she was simply adorable to a criminal degree. The Empress couldn't help reaching out her hand, frightening little Leia so much that she hurriedly stepped back. "I'm terribly sorry, little Leia. Seeing how tiny, soft, and cute you are, I really couldn't resist wanting to pinch you." Faced with the Empress's praise, the girl remained unmoved, because she really was very cute. After that, the Empress warmly invited Leia's family to take their seats. Even just watching her eat a single grape was almost enough to melt both of them. "Is the strawberry tasty, little Leia?" "So Daddy's strawberry is mine too." She confidently snatched Julian's strawberry away, but Ace beat her to it and handed his own strawberry to Leia. "You can have mine too." With his bronze-toned skin and a pair of deep blue eyes, he really looked like a doll. Leia politely said thank you, and looking at the innocent little prince in front of her, it was really hard to imagine that he would actually grow into a 190-centimeter puppy, like handsome man in the future. The Empress felt sorry about the king bringing up the engagement last time. She had only hoped that the two children could become friends, and never expected that the king would directly propose an engagement. But listening to the adults' conversation, little Ace immediately became unhappy and looked at his mother in confusion. "Aren't Leia and I supposed to get married?" The fruit tea she had just drunk nearly sprayed out of her mouth. Julian also awkwardly explained from the side, "Your Highness, you can only marry someone when you meet the person you truly like in the future." Clearly, Ace did not understand what that meant. He only knew that father had said it would be good for the royal family and the Theo-ducal house to marry. It was hard to imagine that this was something a 5-year-old child was already worrying about. The Empress also nodded in agreement and told him that marriage is something you do with the person you love. If you care too much about family interests, it becomes hard to meet someone you truly like. "Then if I like Leia, does that mean I can marry her?" "That still won't do. Little Leia has to like you too." Ace looked pitifully toward little Leia, but Leia calmly spoke her true feelings. "You're not my type, so I absolutely will not marry you. But I already gave you my strawberry. You still won't marry me?" Leia frowned impatiently. Did this brat really think being cute made him that amazing? "Then I'll spit it back to you." Luckily, Lucy covered Leia's mouth in time, which kept her from really spitting it out. She still wanted to say something more, but Lucy had her mouth tightly covered. Lucy picked up the daughter in front of her and apologetically said she would excuse herself for a moment. Looking at the fuming Leia, she truly could not understand why her daughter disliked playing with children her own age so much. "Leia, if you don't like it, Mommy won't make you marry him." She turned her head away sulkily. "I know, but since you know that, why are you still so angry? His Highness only wants to be friends with you. Leia just feels he's kind of strange and not quite like other children. Everyone only treats him as the crown prince. Although he has many companions around him, he doesn't have any real friends. That's why Daddy and Mommy let you meet him, because the two of you are actually very alike." But Leia still stubbornly believed that even if she had no friends, she would not feel lonely, because no matter how good a friend was, to her, they were all fake. Everything here was only made up of characters she had written. "But if Ace feels lonely, I can consider being his friend." By afternoon, Ace came to find Leia with a basket of strawberries he had carefully prepared to apologize. "I shouldn't have asked you to marry me just because I gave you strawberries, but can we be friends?" Looking at the hesitant little prince, Leia couldn't help bursting into laughter. This was just too cute. She picked up a grape, and though she was only 4 years old, she coaxed Ace to open his mouth as if she were soothing a child.
"So sweet."
"Can I call you Leia?" "Of course you can." "Then I want to call you Ace too." Hearing Leia say that, Ace immediately became happy, like a real child. Leia also showed that business smile of hers, and from then on, Ace often told Leia fairy tales from books. Who on earth had made Ace into such a boring prince? That person was none other than herself. How infuriating. She had already been his friend for 3 months. But every day it was either taking walks and eating snacks, or listening to him tell fairy tales. And all of those fairy tales were ones she already knew. Could it be just because this was a novel she herself had written? When he read about Cinderella wearing crystal shoes and dancing with the prince, Ace shyly hid his apple-red little face behind the book. "I also want to dance with you." He had already started learning to dance some time ago, and had even been praised by his teacher. "Really? But I don't know how." Seeing that Leia did not refuse, Ace abruptly stood up. Then I'll teach you. Before Leia could say anything, he hurriedly said he was going to have someone make preparations. She had already wondered before why he had specifically wanted to read Cinderella. So it turned out he wanted to dance with her. How cute. Back when she had chased idols in high school, she had already seen all kinds of singing and dancing. Very soon, Ace came running back joyfully. Taking Leia's little hand, he said, "It's all ready. Let's go." But when Leia came outside, she still couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat. What is all this? Weren't we just going to dance? I had the teacher prepare the piano, and Mother also said she wanted to watch us dance. But why is there a painter too? Actually, it's because I bragged to Julian that I was going to watch you two dance, and he got competitive and refused to lose. So I plan to have your dancing painted. In the end, she could only blame herself for setting all of them up as doting fools for children. Thinking about it now, something had already felt off since the morning. The new clothes that had been prepared were obviously matching outfits too. They were definitely all in on it together. Accompanied by beautiful piano music, the two little children danced gracefully in the garden. Meanwhile, the painter worked seriously at the side. But suddenly, Cinderella's crystal shoe stepped on the prince's little foot. Yet Ace didn't mind at all, and only smiled as he looked at his princess. What an idiot. Ace could always notice Leia, who was always gloomy and unhappy. He had originally thought she disliked him, so he suggested they go take a walk in the yard together. But Leia didn't want to walk. "Then I'll carry you. I heard you have a younger sister too. What does she look like?" "You mean Ina? She has platinum blonde hair and purple eyes just like me. But she looks a bit more like Mom, while I look more like Dad." And so the two little ones chatted on and off like that. Very soon, they arrived in the yard. What Leia didn't understand was why he liked playing only with her when he clearly had other friends. Ace told her with a serious face, "I don't like the other friends. I only like you." Leia didn't really understand what that meant. "Because you and I are both children of the three great families, the kind everyone places expectations on." She let out a helpless sigh. Ace is the name of the most famous shield in Greco-Roman mythology. It is a role willing to become a shield for everyone and for the one he loves. He was the kind of perfect prince who would only appear in fairy tales. But this little thing in front of her was, in the end, still only a child. On the way home, seeing his precious daughter looking so worried, he asked, "What's wrong, little Leia? Did something happen?" "Nothing." She sulkily used the rabbit to cover her little face. "Then are you happy to suddenly have an older brother?" "How would he be my older brother? He's only a tiny bit older than me." The sulking child made Julian burst into laughter. Back then, Daddy and Ace's daddy also argued over who was the older brother. But Daddy was born a whole month earlier than him. "Oh right, Leia, the portrait painted of you two earlier has already been finished. You looked so cute that Daddy doesn't even know how to describe it. So His Majesty and I even discussed whether you or Ace was better looking, but he actually said that if he hadn't seen you in person, it didn't count. Anyway, because of that stubborn guy, we agreed to hold another family gathering together this week." Hearing Julian's words, Leia was speechless. They were simply like two overgrown children. Meanwhile, in the palace, the king looked at the mural on the wall. "My queen, what kind of child do you think Leia is?" Charlotte answered almost without any hesitation at all. The word angel came right out of her mouth. But he did not have the slightest expectation toward Leia. Charlotte snorted coldly. "Then why did you bring up the engagement?" Gently stroking the sleeping Ace. She had originally thought her son was the most mature child in the world, but it was precisely that excessive maturity, which did not belong to his age, that always made her unable to stop worrying. He was clearly still only a 5-year-old child, but the moment she saw little Leia, she immediately believed that this child must be an angel sent to change Ace. The gathering between the king and Julian arrived as scheduled, but with the king staring at her the whole time, Leia felt as if her face was about to be seen through completely. The two men kept bickering at the dining table. Leia suddenly smelled a rich fragrance. When her gaze fell on Julian, it was coffee. Carbs, alcohol, and coffee. These were the three essentials of Leia's life, and she truly wanted to take a big gulp. But Julian told her that children couldn't drink that. She frowned angrily, so she had no choice but to use her ultimate move, unleashing her cute beam. With the child suddenly acting adorable, Julian almost gave in on the spot. But for Leia's health, no meant no, she still couldn't drink it. She turned her head away and secretly stuck out her tongue, but the king opposite her caught it all. The king handed the coffee in his hand to little Leia. She gulped down a big mouthful, and only then was she finally satisfied. Ace picked up a donut and held it out in front of Leia. Faced with Ace's goodwill, Leia also broke off half and fed it to his mouth. But the meaningful looks from everyone around them made little Leia shyly turn her head away. She really couldn't stay there any longer, so she grabbed Ace's little hand at once. "Let's go play outside," because she didn't want people treating her like a child and watching her, but after coming outside, she didn't know what to do either. Ace, walking behind her, suddenly called out to Leia in front. Mysteriously, he slipped his hand into his pocket. It turned out that because he had noticed Leia seemed to like coffee, he had secretly brought a little for her. "Here, eat it." However, seeing Leia's puzzled expression, Ace picked up a coffee bean and directly put it into his mouth. But before he could chew twice, he couldn't help spitting it out. "What is this? What is this thing?" This is really Idiot, so why did you eat it? Memories from the past surged violently into her mind at that instant. It felt as though something like this had happened to her before as well. The image of her older brother's overwhelming grief before her death flashed through her mind like scenes in a lantern reel. Noticing that something was wrong, Ace hurriedly stepped forward in concern. But right now, all Leia could think about was going home. Her longing for her family flooded over her like a tide and completely drowned her whole being. Ace, who had no idea what had happened at all, could only stand there at a loss. Actually, she herself understood very clearly. She had left while holding her brother's hand. The older brother, who normally only teased her, had actually cried so heartbreakingly. Leia was on the verge of breaking down. She fiercely threw the rabbit plush in her hand straight at Ace's face. Then she plopped down on the ground and burst into tears. All this time, she had been trying so hard to build emotional bonds with the people here. But this place just had to be the world of a novel she had written herself. No matter how hard she tried, she could never stop feeling that all of this was just a world she had created. Maybe all of this was only a dream. Leia could only comfort herself like this again and again. How she wished that when she opened her eyes again, she would be lying in a hospital. She really wanted to see her real mother. Her tears kept falling like they were free, impossible to stop, until her eyes were swollen red from crying, and her whole body had no strength left. Even after being hit hard by Leia, Ace still gently wiped away her tears. On top of being at a loss, he was also filled with guilt. Was it because the coffee beans I brought out were bad? Because I couldn't be reborn as a kitten. But why would you want to be reborn as a kitten? If you were a kitten, then I wouldn't be able to become friends with you. His usually bright eyes seemed to lose all their color in an instant. Do you hate me? I don't hate you. I like you. What about you? Do you like me? Or rather, should you like me? Ace stammered, not knowing how to answer. Isn't it because I'm a daughter of the Theo family that you like me? No, it's not. But how could Leia not understand what this little boy in front of her was thinking about all day? More than whether he liked her, what he always cared about was whether he was supposed to. You said before that we're the same, right? But you were wrong. I'm not the same as you. I became friends with you because I like you, but that's not why you did it. If you're still like this, then I won't be friends with you anymore. But didn't you say you like me? But I don't want to be the only one liking you. But I like you too. Then if the Theo family's daughter weren't me, you would definitely treat her the same way you treat me, right? Ace hurriedly opened his mouth to deny it. No, that's not it. I just don't know what to do anymore. Tears slid uncontrollably from the corners of his eyes. Leia cupped Ace's little face in her hands. It's not about what you should do, but about putting what you truly like first. But he had to become an outstanding prince. How much Leia wished he could be just a little more selfish. To her, no matter what she liked was him as a person. Even though this was a world she had created, he still deserved to have a life of his own. Although she didn't know when this road would end, Leia still hoped that at the very least, he would have no regrets. Even if he suddenly stopped being the second male lead and ran off to become a villain instead, she would still like him. Could it be that her coming here really was heaven's arrangement? Was it so she could save someone? Because whether they were the protagonist, supporting characters, or villains, she truly liked every one of them. Thinking this, Leia suddenly didn't feel quite so sad anymore. If you like me too, if you like me as Ace, then let's become real friends. She wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and shook her little head hard. I don't want to be just real friends with you. I want to marry you. Faced with Ace's sudden proposal, Leia was full of question marks. This was the kind of shock that could stun a child for 100 years. Marriage is probably a little difficult. Why? Are we supposed to like each other? There are many kinds of liking, but marriage requires liking someone very, very much. But I do like you very, very much. Seeing Leia fall silent, the clever Ace understood immediately. So that means you also have to like me very, very much, right? I'll definitely work hard. As expected of the third male lead in a romance novel, complete with an innocent romantic character setting, it was hard to imagine that these were words a 5-year-old brat could say. Unfortunately, he still had snot running from his nose, which really ruined the mood. Leia stood up. Then do your best and give it a try. She had absolutely not noticed. Since when had Lucy started eavesdropping? Probably from when you got proposed to? Noticing her daughter's swollen eyes, she asked with concern, why was Leia crying? Leia pointed at the coffee beans on the ground. His Highness the Prince made me eat this. Ace also hurriedly opened his mouth to explain. It was all my fault. Lucy quickly sensed that things were probably not that simple. So I hit His Highness the Prince. I hit him 3 times with a rabbit plush. She looked at Leia with a serious expression. You should know what you did wrong, right? I shouldn't hit people casually, and I especially shouldn't hurt His Highness the Prince. Then why did you do it? But Mom, Ace needs a real friend. I like Ace, so that's why I wanted to be his real friend. But Ace is only nice to me because I'm the Theo family's daughter. Originally, I didn't want to be friends with him anymore, but he stubbornly refused to let me go home, and I got angry for a moment, so I hit him. Lucy pulled Ace, who was beside her, into her arms. But now, we've already made up. Lucy knelt on one knee in front of Ace. No matter what, I must apologize to you for what Leia did today. And I'm also sorry that you've been made to bear a burden you shouldn't have had. And also, whether or not your Highness is an outstanding prince, Julian and I will both like you, so your highness doesn't need to work too hard. Leia rolled her eyes. She had clearly been eavesdropping since long ago. Lucy gently took Leia's little hand. Then let's go home for today. After returning home, Leia kept looking after Aina, but this sensible little sister not only didn't cry or fuss, she could even sit up by herself, as expected of the heroine of the novel. Do you like me, your big sister? Hearing Leia's words, Aina babbled as if she wanted to speak, but the moment she opened her mouth, it just turned into incoherent baby sounds. She looked so unbearably adorable, from denial at the very beginning to anger. Then, after compromise came depression, and now it seemed she had finally reached the stage where she could accept it. If she kept pretending to be clueless, that would also be tiring. So, who exactly had she come here to help? Since she already couldn't go back, then she should just live properly as Leia. The next day, Leia stood there with her hands on her hips in a huff, and what made her angry was this. Lucy was leaving for 10 days, yet she hadn't even told her. If she hadn't gotten up early today, Lucy probably would have left directly. But according to the plot, Lucy should be about to meet Ryan very soon, right? No. If this kind of thing happens again next time, you have to tell me. She threw herself into Lucy's arms and gave her a hard little kiss. She hoped that kind-hearted Lucy would not be too heartbroken when she met Ryan. After seeing Lucy off, Julian then invited Leia on a date. They went to watch a play together, and the name of the goddess of comedy in it also happened to be Leia. Only then did Leia learn from her father that on the day they found out Lucy was pregnant with Leia, Julian and Lucy had gone to see this play together and decided that if the baby was a boy, they would use the protagonist's name, and if it was a girl, they would use the name of the goddess from the play. But speaking of it, little Leia's birthday is coming up soon, isn't it? Is there anything you want? Leia's expression suddenly dimmed. She gently shook her little head. There wasn't anything she wanted. In her previous life, her birthday had been on Christmas Day. When her birthday came, what she actually hoped for was a snowfall. Meanwhile, the protagonist, Ryan, was sitting in a carriage on the way to the Empire. It was his first time going alone to a completely unfamiliar place. The fear and nervousness in his heart made him unable to sit still. Before leaving, his father had even said something about how going to the Empire would be safer. He buried his head in his arms and sobbed quietly. They're all lies. Suddenly, the carriage gave a violent lurch. What happened? Was it an ambush? The already uneasy child became even more frightened at this moment. Looking at the thick black smoke rising outside, his ominous premonition grew stronger and stronger. A pair of strong hands tore open the carriage window with bare hands. He shut his eyes in despair. This time, he was really done for, wasn't he? However, the other person only urgently shouted his name. Ryan suddenly opened his eyes. She, who is she? Your Highness. Quickly, give me your hand. Come over to my side. Ryan stood there blankly, unmoving. Lucy had no choice but to let go of the reins and yank Ryan out in one swift motion. Immediately after that, the original carriage was smashed to pieces by a giant boulder falling from the sky. Fortunately, Lucy had arrived in time, preventing the tragedy. When the other knights who arrived late saw this, they broke out in a cold sweat. Even now, they were still frightened afterward. How could you do something so dangerous? But there was no way Lucy could stand by and do nothing while watching the prince be in danger. Ryan's steward, who had been following him, also hurried over. From her, Lucy learned that because bandits had suddenly attacked, the carriage Ryan was riding in had suddenly gone out of control. Seeing that Ryan in her arms was gradually regaining his senses. Only then did Lucy set him down on the ground and perform a knight salute. Your Highness the Prince, greetings. It had already been 11 days since Lucy left, but there was still no news of her return. Julian had also been busy late into the night these days, and Leia felt a faint unease in her heart. Then the nanny suddenly appeared and interrupted the girl's thoughts. What game shall we play today? But Leia only wanted to lie obediently at home and sleep. That won't do. The nanny happened to bring out her trump card. If Miss plays with me, then later I'll make your favorite brown bread for you.
Just thinking about it.
Little Leia was practically drooling all over the floor. She even specifically reminded her to make sure to add lots of raisins. Got it. Then today let's play dolls. I'll be the lion. Nanny will be the little deer. If the little deer wants to survive, she has to feed the lion first. A friendly reminder. Lions like eating bread. The nanny sighed helplessly. I'll go make bread for Miss right away. Normally, Leia might have cooperated a little, but today, she truly was not in the mood. Iona's crying suddenly reached her ears. As expected of Lucy's daughter, she could hear her even from this far away. When Leia rushed over, the maid was coaxing the loudly wailing Ina. The child was probably fussy from being sleepy, but when she saw her favorite big sister, little Ina immediately quieted down. So Leia took the initiative to take over the task of looking after the baby. Fortunately, her own body was still small too, so even the crib was enough for 2 people to lie in. But looking at little Iona's sweet sleeping face, Leia found it funny, and little by little, she also fell asleep. When she opened her eyes again, the nanny was looking at her with a puzzled expression. Just now you were saying you wanted bread, so how did you suddenly fall asleep? She took 2 chomping bites and ate the freshly baked bread. So cute. By the way, Miss, later a friend will come and spend some time with you. Leia thought the nanny was talking about Ace. After all, he was her only friend. When will mom come back? Before the nanny could answer, a maid suddenly pushed the door open and came in. When she learned that Lucy had already arrived at the gate, Leia ran out holding the bread she hadn't finished eating. But outside, besides Lucy, there were also several unfamiliar faces she had never seen before. Come over and say hello. He is Prince Ryan of the Kingdom of Celis. Looking at the male lead she had written with her own hand, Leia was momentarily stunned. She didn't understand why Ryan would appear here. And the friend the nanny had just mentioned, could it be him? Lucy explained, the prince will temporarily stay at our home for a while. But according to the original plot, at this time, he should have gone to the Imperial City and become friends with Ace. Hearing Ryan's stomach growl, Leia did not hesitate to hand him the bread she loved most. But the prince kept looking at his nanny. Only after receiving her permission did he dare accept the bread. How could Leia not understand that this had to be someone the queen had sent to monitor the prince? She wouldn't even let the child eat properly. After receiving Lucy's praise, Leia enthusiastically greeted Ryan, but Ryan remained very reserved. Hello, lady. Just call me Leia. So, neighboring kingdom's rabbit prince, are you willing to be friends with me? Seeing Ryan lower his head without speaking, Leia said again, there's still one position open among the 4 heavenly kings of the Great Demon King. Doesn't that tempt you at all? Ryan didn't quite understand what Leia meant, but none of that really mattered to him. The reason Ryan had come to the Duke's residence was most likely Lucy's idea, and as Lucy's daughter, she should naturally become the prince's good friend. She stretched out her little hand. Then from now on, you're one of my 4 heavenly kings. Don't be fooled by how small I am. This great demon king is very powerful, and from now on I'll protect you. Looking at the brilliant smile on the girl's face before him, the little prince's face turned completely red. Hooking her arm through the prince's, Leia suggested they go have a picnic in the courtyard together. Lucy was naturally delighted. It just so happened that the rooms for His Highness the Prince and the others to stay in had not been prepared yet. Let's leave these matters to the steward to handle first. Leia suddenly called out to the steward. She leaned her mouth close to his ear and whispered, Grandpa Steward, I'll make Grandpa one of my 4 heavenly kings too, so come do bad things with me. The steward was taken aback at first. After understanding Mrs. Meaning, he smiled slightly. It would be my honor. As the steward of the Duke's household, and also the manager of Julian's intelligence organization, the steward was a very frightening person indeed. Sure enough, he was someone with great tact. Then she turned and took Ryan's little hand again. Before the picnic, she wanted to first take the prince to see her younger sister, but because she ran too fast, she completely forgot that she still had the body of a 4-year-old, and ended up having very intimate contact with the ground all at once. This stupid body. How embarrassing. Lucy hurried over. That's why I told you not to run so fast. Little Leia felt so wronged she was about to burst. Not only had she fallen flat on her face, she had even been scolded by Lucy. Faced with her daughter acting spoiled, Lucy, just like Julian, had absolutely no way to deal with her. She picked up one tiny child in her arms, but the prince seemed a little flattered. What's wrong, your highness? Do you need me to put you down? Blushing, he stammered, and no need. Holding the 2 little ones, she came to Iona's room. Lucy let the 2 of them play here for a while she went to change clothes first. The nanny enthusiastically introduced herself to the prince, but the prince hid behind Leia as if he were startled. Although she didn't know what was going on, Ryan's reaction was just too cute. My baby. I really want to give him a big squeeze. The Ryan in the original work was sensitive and suspicious, staying wary of everyone. That was because the environment he grew up in never allowed him to trust others. But this time, as the first member of her 4 heavenly kings, he had appeared by her side. Could it be that the person I'm supposed to save is you? Looking at the little one foraging for food, he really looked like a little hamster. But when this child ate, why was it like a starving ghost had possessed him? He didn't look like someone who had only gone hungry for a day or 2. She was still very curious why Ryan had come to their house. That was because he had been attacked on the road, and Lucy felt that compared to the palace, it was safer to keep him in her own home. There was no need to think to know that it must have been done by the vicious queen. But if something happened to Ryan in the Duke's residence, then Lucy would be held responsible. And of course, Julian had also taken the initiative to help with all of this. But in the current situation, there was nothing she herself could do. Although she really wanted to punch the nanny, who was monitoring Ryan. Unfortunately, she looked like the kind of person who would die from a single punch. She wanted Ryan to stop that little mouth of his for now. After all, when Julian came back, they still had to eat dinner together. If he ate too many snacks now, then he wouldn't be able to eat at night. The boy nodded obediently. She carefully wiped the crumbs from the corner of Ryan's mouth. Julian finally rushed back before nightfall, and eagerly picked up his little darling. Smack, smack. 2 kisses right away. All right, stop kissing me already. But Julian wore an unwilling expression and started shamelessly acting spoiled. If you take the initiative to kiss Daddy, then Daddy won't kiss you anymore. Leia, who had absolutely no way of dealing with Julian, could only obediently do as she was told. Watching this heartwarming scene, Ryan smiled for the first time. It also reminded Leia of a passage from the original story. As Ryan's consciousness grew increasingly blurry, He thought of the only happy year in his life and suddenly smiled. Leia felt that, at the very least, just like in the original story, during the time he lived here, she hoped this little boy could live happily. Soon, it was time for dinner. It was only because of the piece of beef he had picked up that accidentally fell onto the floor. The nanny made him eat it. He had completely forgotten that he was now in the Duke's residence. And as one of Leia's 4 heavenly kings, how could he possibly pick food up from the ground and eat it? I'll give you mine, and later I'll take you to see the great demon king's castle. But the nanny told her that the prince still had lessons later. When she heard that nearly insane, ridiculously packed schedule of classes, what the heck? He was clearly just a 5-year-old child. In that case, I'll go sit in on the lesson too. The nanny wanted to speak up to stop her, but in the end, she could not argue against Lucy beside her. After all, this was the first time Leia had ever actively asked to study. However, Leia still underestimated Ryan's learning content, making a 5-year-old child copy words he could not even understand by looking at them. This was clearly tormenting him, and the content written above was completely instilling the prince with the wrong ideas. Of course, Leia could not just stand by and ignore it, so she casually found an excuse to send Ryan away from her side. And right in front of the teacher, she tore those papers to pieces. What exactly is going on here? You're making a child who can't even recognize all the characters copy this kind of stuff. You're using this method to torment him and constantly belittle his self-esteem. Is that it? Although the teacher, whose thoughts had been seen through at a glance, was somewhat flustered, he still firmly believed that the one before him was nothing more than a little brat who was only 4 years old, and wanted to muddle through with some excuses. But Leia gave him only 2 choices. First, resign from his job as a tutor and return to his own country. Second, I tell my parents about this and give you the charge of insulting the royal family. I suppose you also know that insulting the royal family carries, at the very least, the death penalty. Hearing this, the man could no longer sit still. But I can also give you a third choice, and that is to properly teach the prince lessons suitable for a 5-year-old child. He simply could not believe that the Leia before him was actually only a 4-year-old child. Even if she was Prime Minister Theo's daughter, she should not have been this terrifying. As for those people who bullied Ryan, she would not let a single one of them go. She took the little pitiful one's small hand. Let me take you out to play. The 2 little ones passed through the Duke's secret passage and arrived at a garden outside. Leia wanted to weave a crown out of flowers for Ryan, and Ryan obediently sat to one side, quietly looking at the girl before him, who was like an angel. When she personally placed the flower crown on Ryan's head, it was exactly as she had imagined. Really cute. Ryan did not quite understand why Leia kept secretly laughing. He tilted his head, very puzzled, and the flower crown on his head fell down as a result. Leia picked it up and put it back on the prince again. Just then, the nanny finally found them. She had been searching all over the residence and could not find the 2 little ones anywhere. Now, seeing that both of them were safe and sound, she silently let out a sigh of relief. Actually, the nanny Mia had never appeared in the original story. Her original fate was that after her son died, she committed suicide because she did not get along with her husband. But Leia's appearance truly changed her fate. Leia's birth also rekindled this pitiful mother's hope to go on living. She placed another flower crown on Mia's head. This one was specially made for Nanny. Thank you, Mississippi. It's lunchtime now. Also, the butler has already stepped in to deal with the teacher's matter. This kind of thing will not happen again in the future. So if anything happens to His Highness the Prince in the future, you must tell Miss Leia. Our young miss is a very formidable great demon king. Blushing, he obediently nodded. Since Ryan came to the Duke's residence, a month had already passed. Because he had been eating well, his cheeks had become chubbier, and his health had improved a lot too. Those who had bullied him because of the princess consort had all been expelled from the empire by Lucy. Although Ryan's nanny, Till, had not yet revealed any flaws, the people in the Duke's residence had been keeping watch on her the whole time, so she did not dare act rashly now either. And in 2 more days, it would be little Leia's 5th birthday. Because he did not know what gift to give, Ryan had been feeling very down, and he truly did not have anything worthy of presenting. The considerate Mia asked in front of him, "What gift does Leia want?" Ryan immediately perked up and raised his little ears attentively. But Leia still did not understand why Mia had suddenly asked this, when the gift for herself had clearly already been prepared a week ago. Thinking carefully, Julian had promised that on her birthday he would help make it snow, and Lucy would also read her 10 new fairy tales. So, what else could she want? Suddenly, she noticed the gloomy Ryan beside her. Leia immediately understood what the nanny meant, but her mind could not quite turn fast enough for a moment. What kind of gift could a 5-year-old child prepare in just 2 days? Now that you mention it, on my birthday, I really would like to eat a chocolate cookie. He took out his little notebook and wrote it down. Having to take care of children's emotions every moment really makes me want to live a carefree, slacker life. Leia was startled awake by the noise. Lucy had come to her daughter's room early in the morning. Although today was Leia's 5th birthday, she was not the kind of energetic child who would spring out of bed just because it was her birthday, and she felt as though her body was especially heavy today. Still drowsy, the girl was forcibly booted up by Lucy. After changing into a beautiful new outfit, Leia was still so sleepy that she could not open her eyes. Lucy could not help feeling a little worried, but when she found out Leia was just a little sleepy, there was no need to think about it at all. It had to be because she had been too excited for today's birthday party, so she had not slept well last night. Because she and Julian were the same, they had hardly slept either because they were too excited. After all, their precious daughter was about to turn 5. She personally placed a cute little crown on her daughter's head. It will soon be the time you were born. 5 years ago today, Lucy felt that she was someone who could change fate. Leia did not quite understand what Lucy meant. 5 years ago, the moment Mom first saw you, she heard the sound of her own fate being changed. After getting herself ready, Leia happily went to find Dad. Julian looked at Leia with a big grin. It seems God really fulfilled your first wish, because outside, heavy snow was actually falling.
You should know that it was still autumn right now.
On the other side, a mysterious woman looked at the sky, slightly lost in thought. She possessed the ability to see the past and the future, but she too seemed especially surprised by the snow in autumn. She only needed to wait one more year for the one she had been longing for over 1,000 years. That person with pure blonde hair and purple eyes, the one who could bring her story to an end. She was finally about to meet him, surrounded by everyone. Leia looked at this giant cake that belonged to her, yet was even taller than she was. How could anyone finish eating this? Last year it had still been an ordinary cake. Lucy told her not to worry about that for now, because as today's main character, she still had to go out and greet the guests. After hearing that Ace would also be coming, the gift Ryan had carefully prepared accidentally fell to the floor. Looking at Leia in confusion, who is Ace? A very, very good friend. Thinking of how Ryan's wariness was still very strong right now, she had to mediate between them. Even if she could not make them like real brothers, at the very least she wanted them to become good friends. Ace is a 5-year-old boy. When the 3 of us play together later, it will definitely be more fun. But Ryan looked a little awkward. The Queen brought Ace to attend Leia's birthday party. Ace warmly greeted Leia, but when he saw a strange boy holding Leia's little hand, he quickly grabbed Leia's other hand. The air was instantly filled with the smell of gunpowder, leaving Leia not knowing what to do for a moment. Fortunately, it was soon time to make a wish. Last year, she had wished that heaven would let her wake up from this dream soon. But now, she only wished that everyone here could have a good ending. Ace took out the cute little kitten he had prepared. Although he had also wanted very much to give her a real kitten, Mother said that one must not casually give away a life. So he prepared a doll instead. Well, do you like it? Leia nodded happily. Ryan also timidly took out the gift he had prepared from behind his back. These were the chocolate cookies Leia had said she wanted to eat on her birthday. Watching Leia pick one up and put it into her mouth, Ryan was like a child waiting for praise from an adult. Is it tasty, Leia? She nodded firmly. Ryan, you should try one too. But the boy shook his head. If they were tasty, he wanted to leave them all for Leia. Yet in the very next second, Leia fed the cookie in her hand to Ace. Of course, delicious things should be shared with everyone, Ace, don't you think? If you won't eat, then I'll just have to eat them together with Ace. Only then did Ryan obediently sit down. Of course, he would not let the cookies he had made with his own hands be shared only between Leia and his romantic rival. The Queen also took out the birthday gift she had prepared long ago. And inside this exquisite gift box was actually an exquisite and luxurious crown. When the royal family gives a crown to the daughter of another noble house, it also means designating that person as the crown prince's consort. And no matter how one looked at it, this did not seem like Charlotte's idea. That hateful king. Just you wait. Looking at the calm and composed Lucy and Julian, they obviously also knew the meaning of accepting the crown, but they still had not taken any measures. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. The 2 little ones each rolled a snowball over to Leia to claim credit. Are you making a snowman? Looking at the 2 little cuties, Leia smiled brightly. Yes, I'm going to roll another one.
Me too. Me too.
Neither of the 2 little ones was willing to lose. But what puzzled Leia was that the 2 of their snowballs together clearly could make one snowman. Yet Ace disliked Ryan's snowball for being too dirty. Ryan turned his head away in dissatisfaction. Just so happened that he also did not like the smaller one. Seeing the 2 facing off against each other, Leia personally stacked both of their snowballs into a snowman. Yet it was of no use at all. In the original story, they had clearly been good brothers, and Leia's head ached for a moment. Looking at the 2, who had gone and built another snowman again, Leia gently patted Ryan's head. Now that you've built a snowman together too, you have to be good friends, okay? Hearing this, Ace and Ryan looked at each other. Each one seized one of Leia's arms. Yet Leia truly did not know how to ease the relationship between the 2 of them. If only she had wished for them to become good friends. Ryan, unable to swallow his anger, simply could not stand Ace, who wanted to take Leia away, and reached out and pushed him to the ground. The sudden turn of events left everyone unable to react. In her panic, Leia loudly called out to stop Ryan. But when she saw the aggrieved tears at the corner of the boy's eyes, Leia also knew that this pitiful child had not even dared to raise his head some time ago, and now she had actually shouted at him. She wanted to apologize, but Ryan could not stop feeling upset and stammered out an apology.
I'm sorry.
Leia's heart suddenly clenched, not knowing how to comfort this hurt child. She pulled Ace up from the ground. Are you hurt? I'm fine, but he looks really upset. Do you want me and him to become friends? Of course, Leia hoped so, but she also hoped that, more than thinking about what he should do for her sake, Ace would first consider whether he truly wanted it himself, so she would absolutely never force Ace. But what she had not expected was that Ace would actually take the initiative to make peace. Although I don't really like him very much, I can understand why he would do that, because Ace has this feeling too, as though Leia might be taken away at any moment. So he felt that he and Ryan should be able to become friends. I'm going to find Ryan and make up with him right now. When we come back, the three of us will build a snowman together. Watching Ace's back, Leia felt an indescribable sadness in her heart. She hoped both of these little ones could be well, but who could come teach her exactly what she was supposed to do? Ryan hid in Lucy's arms and cried pitifully when he saw Ace come over. He wiped away the tears from the corners of his eyes and took the initiative to step forward and apologize.
I'm sorry, Ace.
I shouldn't have pushed you.
It's okay, Ryan. Let's be friends from now on.
Seeing that the boy did not object, Ace immediately took the other's little hand. Let's go apologize to Leia and then roll snowballs together. When Leia went to sleep that night, she felt that her body was especially heavy. Was she running a fever? After sleeping, it should get better, right? It won't get better. A cold voice made Leia bolt upright from the bed, looking at the unfamiliar man before her. Who are you? What do you want? The man smiled faintly, telling Leia not to be so wary, since this was your dream right now. But Leia had absolutely no interest in listening to this man's nonsense and only wanted to escape this room as quickly as possible. But when she finally saw the man's face clearly, she suddenly froze in place. This was clearly Ryan after growing up.
The man walked toward the bed step by step.
That child you mentioned should still be sleeping in his own bed right now. Today is your birthday, so let me first wish you a happy 5th birthday. Leia had never imagined that she could actually receive birthday wishes even in a dream.
I came to tell you something.
Consider it a gift from me. When you wake up, your body will hurt a lot, so be careful. But why is that? Leia did not know whether she should believe the man before her, but her current situation was simply far too surreal. Because your body has not fully grown yet, it still cannot bear the power of a god. It is clearly autumn now, yet it snowed for you. The power of a god is also called an ability. For the children of the 3 great families, the baptism is what makes them vessels capable of displaying abilities. Because of that, you are stronger and healthier than ordinary people. Although Leia knew these things too, she had never discovered any ability of her own, much less the power to control the weather. If you keep using your abilities casually in your current body, you may pay with your life. So before you grow up, do not make random wishes anymore. Leia had never expected that the wish she had spoken casually could have such serious consequences. But she still had to find out who exactly the man before her was. But the man slowly dissipated before her eyes. I won't tell you. When the girl woke up, her whole body was burning hot, and the fever was frighteningly high. Leia, who had never been sick before, definitely gave Lucy quite a scare this time. It's okay, miss. It's only an ordinary high fever. She struggled to sit up, puzzled as to why she did not see anyone else around. Only then did she learn that Lucy and Julian had both gone to work, and Ryan had been staying outside the door the whole time. Because they were afraid he might catch the illness, they had not let him come in, but he stubbornly refused to leave. What a child, who never lets people stop worrying. Tell him not to wait at the door anymore. At the palace, Julian was seriously flipping through books. He suspected that Leia's illness this time was related to the manifestation of an ability. In the past, in Duke Theo's household and in the royal family, everyone who had ever had this kind of illness had, without exception, been someone with abilities. And the reason his ancestors had all died young was entirely because they had overused their abilities. But the king did not think so, because Leia was only 5 years old now. And if it really was the manifestation of an ability, that would mean the evil spirit was about to descend. Rather than staying here, you might as well go back early and keep the child company. As for what you said, I'll first send a letter to ask Petisha. Julian, who got off work early, looked at Leia's wobbling little head and was still very worried about her physical condition. Leia, whose consciousness was gradually growing blurry, was still muttering that she wanted to eat cookies. Whenever I talked to Dad on the phone before, Dad would buy me a whole box of cookies. Julian looked confused. Although he did not know what a phone was, going to buy cookies should not be wrong, right? So he planned to make a trip to the cookie shop before Leia woke up. Mia suggested that he bring His Highness the Prince along. After all, he had stood guard outside the young Miss's door all day before, so he must also want very much to do something for the young miss. Julian brought Ryan to the cookie shop, looking at all kinds of little cookies. It seemed that whenever Leia ate cookies before, she always ate them with great relish, so he simply bought a little of every kind. When he thought that this child would sooner or later return to his own empire and suffer the princess consort's torment, a thought actually arose in Julian's heart. Why not simply adopt Ryan and keep him in his own home forever? After waking up, Leia looked at the bed piled full of little cookies. Although she still felt a little uncomfortable, she could not leave out a single one of the cookies she was supposed to eat. The man in her dream had said that the reason her wish had come true was because of the power of God. Since God would give you power, that must mean there was a need for it. And she had transmigrated into the role of the protagonist's older sister in order to save someone. But even now, she still had never fulfilled her true wish. The girl who had just recovered from a serious illness looked at the prince who was back to normal, and the happiness in her heart simply could not be hidden. Ryan rushed forward and hugged Leia tightly. Only after seeing the girl recover with his own eyes did his taut nerves finally relax completely. Noticing those exquisite drawings on the floor, What are you doing? This is to help you get better faster. We drew these pictures and originally wanted to finish them and then bring them to you. But Leia told them not to worry. It was only an ordinary high fever. Seeing that the two little ones were still somewhat downcast, now that we can all play together, aren't you happy? We're just worried that you will keep getting sick in the future, Leia. After all, they had never caught a cold before, and everyone said that only people whose powers had awakened would get sick. So the reason they were upset was that they already knew excessive use of powers would cause life force to keep draining away. She slowly moved closer to the two little ones. Actually, it's all because I made a wish. I hoped that everyone could become happy, but if you get sick, then we won't be happy. She did not know how to comfort these two children, but these were the only things she could say. One day, she would make everyone happy, because that was the ending of the story. In a few days, she would have to make a wish again. Although she did not like the feeling of being sick, she had to see that man one more time and ask clearly about the things she still did not know. In order to meet the man in her dream again, the girl did not hesitate to consume her own life, using herself as the medium to summon the man. But what she did not expect was that the man actually forced his way into her dream. I already told you. Don't make wishes carelessly. Do you value your life so little? Although she said no, Leia still felt a little guilty in the face of the man's reproach. But wasn't that exactly what you were planning? Leia, whose thoughts had been seen through at a glance, strode up to the man. Then what do you want me to do? You said a bunch of things I couldn't understand on your own. And then you just left. He sighed helplessly. Actually, he did not know that much either. All I can do is wait. Last time, I only came to see you once because I knew your powers had awakened. But if you keep using divine power on your own like this, you may die one day. I want you to promise me that at least before the age of 15, you will not use divine power again. You do cherish your life too, right? She nodded awkwardly. There was no way he could have imagined that, compared with her own life. Leia hoped even more that everyone could have a good ending. So, what exactly are you waiting for? Originally, I was waiting for the fate that was about to arrive, but your sudden appearance has caused all of this to slowly begin to deviate. Who exactly are you? Why have you broken away from fate? And why can you use God's power? She gently raised her hand before her face. She did not know either. Leia only knew that she had to save someone, but she did not know who that person was. If you don't even know who you want to save, then that means you have to choose for yourself. If that was the case, then she would try her best not to change fate as much as possible, because only in this way could everyone welcome a happy ending, even if countless hardships had to be endured in the process. Even if Ryan would be controlled by an evil spirit and live a fate worse than death, would that still be acceptable? A deep sense of powerlessness instantly filled Leia's whole body. She said she was sorry again and again, because the culprit who created the evil spirit and caused all of this was herself. She wanted to do something for the man, but the man shook his head. From the very beginning, he had never thought of changing fate. He was only curious about Leia, who had suddenly appeared. He had only felt a slight bit of expectation. That's all. How could Leia not know that even though he had been watching her for 5 years, he still only said that he had expected a tiny little bit? Didn't you say that who to save should be chosen by me? Even if it's only something very small. Is there anything I can do for you? Then, can you become my friend? Although I don't know why either, I just really like you, and you're the first person who doesn't dislike me. That's nothing. Although you still haven't told me your name. My name is Lee Mile. He gently spoke Mile's name. Actually, he told a lie. He knew who the person Leia wanted to save was.
But right now, he still cannot say it.
Anyway, you will see him very soon. He pinched Leia's little cheek. You should wake up from the dream now. I won't come to see you again in the future either. But we just became friends. Precisely because we are friends, I don't want you to suffer. So you absolutely must not use God's power again. And wishes are not so easily fulfilled either. Don't think things will develop according to your ideas. Even if you do nothing, your very appearance has already changed a great deal. So you must be careful at all times. People always do unexpected things. This nagging man was practically exactly like Leia's grandmother. Listening to him made her ears almost hurt. He gently kissed the girl's forehead. Although we can't meet, I will still come to see you from time to time. Meanwhile, Julian was preparing to adopt Ryan. He did not want this child to continue suffering, nor did he want that one day his own daughter would be sad because of her friend's misfortune. He hoped that the peace between the two countries could continue for a long time. And in his view, the peace between the children would surely continue the peace of the whole world as well. After being busy all day, Julian's face was full of exhaustion. The first thing he did after returning home was, of course, to hug the two adorable children. And he had specially prepared gifts as well. They were a black little rabbit doll and a crystal ball. Ryan loved this little rabbit doll so much he could not put it down. He even unceremoniously rewarded Julian with a cuddle. Leia had absolutely no idea when the two of them had started becoming so close, and the Julian in her memory was not supposed to have this kind of character setting either. Lucy's voice interrupted Leia's thoughts. She gently stroked Leia's forehead. If there were one more older brother in the family, how would you feel? Only then did she realize that they were preparing to adopt Ryan. But Leia still could not help worrying. Even if they really did adopt him, Once Petisha's prophecy descended, what awaited him would still be the fate of being forcibly abandoned. Thinking that Leia might be a little unwilling, Julian quickly explained that of course it wasn't the case. It would still take a few more months before there was any result. He was always taking care of my feelings at every moment. Leia truly had no way to deal with a Julian like this. How could that be? Father? Of course I'm willing. The prophet who had prayed for thousands of years in order to find the path she herself should walk, cast a monstrous lie and brought the girl to her side. She had seen through the fates of others countless times, yet she had never been able to see through even the slightest thing about the girl. Instead, she felt that the girl was the one who could fulfill her wish. So please, save this world. Leia got up early, but she discovered that the manor was unusually quiet. Logically speaking, the news that Ryan was being adopted should have spread long ago, and the fate of those tutors and wet nurses was obvious. They would certainly be eliminated by the princess consort for failing to do their jobs properly. But this woman was now making no move at all. Not even a single person could be seen. This abnormal stillness kept making Leia feel faintly uneasy. After tonight, it would be the day Royna received the baptism. This also meant that their family would be separated from Ryan for a long time. Ryan wished so much that tomorrow would never come. Lucy gently stroked the child, hoping that while we are away, you won't be too lonely. Only after the children had all fallen asleep did Lucy suddenly ask Julian why he wanted to adopt Ryan. Although there were many reasons, the most decisive one was still that Leia had called Ryan Big Brother. So in other words, Leia was the first person who had truly accepted Ryan. Now that you put it that way, that is indeed true. If not for Leia, Lucy would not have wanted to bring Ryan back to the Duke's manor. She truly is our goddess. At night, Leia walked alone through the dim room, letting the lonely moonlight quietly fall over her body. It was all because of her that Ryan had not gone to the palace, but had come to the Duke's manor instead. And Julian wanting to adopt Ryan was also entirely because of her. But in the end, they could never become a real family. When Petisha prophesied that the evil spirit would descend again, the king of the neighboring country would never hand over an heir who might awaken powers to another family. But what should she do? Was he going to leave my side once again? The next day, Leia's family arrived at the temple early in the morning, following the guidance of several priests. Starting today, Julian and Lucy would bathe and fast together with Ina. Because Leia had not been specifically asked to go along, Julian inevitably felt somewhat worried. But Leia told Julian not to worry, she would be fine on her own. Only then did she wave her little hand reluctantly. Miss has really grown up quite a lot. Looking at the kindly priest before her, Leia had absolutely no impression of him. He then explained that they had met when Leia was very little during her baptism, so it was perfectly normal that Leia did not remember him. The priest took out a piece of soft candy. This is his favorite thing to eat. I wonder whether you, miss, are used to eating it. Faced with the priest's kindness, Leia politely thanked him. Afterward, he took Leia to look around the various parts of the temple. He brought Leia beneath a huge faceless statue. God had never revealed a name or appearance, so when this temple was built, in order to respect God's will, God's face was not carved. In order to keep anyone from clearly seeing this faceless divine statue, it was placed at a very great height, which is why the statues here are all so enormous. Leia suddenly noticed a long corridor ahead, but in the priest's eyes, there was only a towering wall. There is a passage recorded in the Holy Book. If a road appears before you, then this is God's will. That place should be the road you are searching for, miss. Petisha is waiting for you. Please forgive me, as I can only escort you this far. Petisha is a highly mysterious figure who tells the protagonists through prophecy what path they should walk in the future. But why was she looking for me? Could it be that there was some prophecy she wanted to tell me? As she gently pushed open the wooden door, even Leia could not help feeling somewhat nervous. Sensing Leia behind her, Petisha's body suddenly trembled. Then she stood up with difficulty. She seemed extremely surprised by this phenomenon. It turned out that before this, no matter what she did, she had been unable to move. During the 20 days when the child receiving baptism bathed together with the father, she had to remain here praying the whole time. And during this period, besides praying, she could do nothing. Then, during these 20 days, she would watch that child's entire life. The prophecies people spoke of were merely words she said based on memories she had watched thousands of times. The power God had bestowed upon her was not merely simple prophecy, but the ability to see the past and the future. The scenes she had seen stretched from the first guardian sealing the evil spirit to Ina and Leith getting married after the evil spirit was eliminated. After that, there was only darkness left. At first, she thought it was because the evil spirit had disappeared, but after staying here for 1,000 years, she began to have doubts. Beneath that darkness, was there really nothing at all? And after she realized this, she also discovered that she had already lost the memories from before she became Petisha. Petisha was only her duty, not her name. She gently held Leia's little hand. In order to see you again, I lied for the first time. Actually, I have no prophecy to tell you, nor can I tell you what path you should take in the future. Rather, it is I who want to find for me the path I should walk in the future. I have already been praying here for thousands of years. As for the answer to prayer, the one who can fulfill my wish, I think that person is you, so please save this world. That is my request. When the saintess in the comic is unwilling to let the story stop here, she will use her deep obsession to awaken the author who created her soul and body, and lead everyone to continue writing a brand new chapter. So it was you who had been calling me all along. But do you know who I am? Petisha shook her head blankly. Then why do you still want me to save the world? Is it just because I am someone who does not belong to the fate of this world? That is because from the moment you were born, you saved someone. Mia's original fate should have been that she could not bear the pain of losing her son, and would end her own life before Roina was born. But your appearance gave her the hope to keep living, and allowed her to live until now. It was your appearance that saved her. She gently embraced Leia's slightly trembling body. It's all right now. She will not abandon you and leave. Yes. Why had she never thought of it before? Who exactly was she supposed to save in this world? In fact, there was no need to think about it at all. What she had to save was every single person she had created with her own hands. Although she knew that asking a child only 5 years old to save the world was truly somewhat rude. After all, even she herself did not know what to do. But even so, she still hoped Leia could change this world's fate. Leia suddenly raised her head. Then what about you? Petisha, if I want to save you, what should I do? After a brief moment of distraction, what flowed in her eyes were sparkling tears that had not appeared for thousands of years. You must be the savior God has granted me. 20 days later, Roina dragged her unsteady body and completed the baptism in the temple. Petisha's prophecy also arrived as promised. The evil spirit would descend once again. The children of this generation would also become the new guardians. Meanwhile, Ace and Leith were happily munching on apples. A servant suddenly brought urgent news. Petisha's prophecy had finally reached the Empire as well, but before he could even react, a violent bout of coughing suddenly rang out. Leith looked at the blood all over his hands in disbelief, having no idea what had happened. Ryan, whose consciousness was gradually fading, eventually collapsed to the ground. Ace silently stayed by Leith's bedside. He was so afraid that Ryan would never wake up again. Ace's worry was fully noticed by Mia. It's all right, Your Highness. His Highness the Prince is bravely fighting the poison inside his body and will wake up soon. So, Your Highness, please don't cry anymore. But Ace still blamed himself deeply. He had clearly always listened to Leia and stayed by Ryan's side, yet he still had not been able to protect him. They had clearly eaten the same food, yet Ryan was the only one suffering. Mother once said that if you pray sincerely, God will hear your wish. Let's pray for Ryan together, okay? He did not want Ryan to be the only one suffering, so God, please let me share some of Ryan's pain too. Please let him get through this. After hearing about this, Leia hurried over. None of this had happened in the original story. It's all because of me that you're suffering like this. I wrote your fate, so that nothing was left but despair. Only if you lived in pain would the evil spirit come for you, and only then could the evil spirit be repelled, and a happy ending be brought about. But this time, she would bear the pain in Ryan's place. So, Ryan, you must wake up tomorrow. If the world after the final ending is nothing but unknown darkness, then before the curtain falls, please let yourself become happy first. Even if it means destroying this world, it doesn't matter. Ryan awoke from his coma, but Ace and Leia both came down with a high fever at the same time. It turned out that because of Ace's sincere prayer, it had unintentionally triggered the awakening of his power. And at the same time as that power awakened, it also brought on the after effect of headaches. Turning his head and looking at Ace, who was burning up all over, there was no need to think to know it was the same as with himself.
Tell me honestly,
What exactly did you do? Little Ace stammered, saying that he had only wanted to help Ryan bear a little of the pain. But Leia still could not help being angry at this fool. What kind of thing was it to get sick in someone else's place? Listen carefully, Ace. The wishes we seriously make now really can come true. But at the same time, we also have to pay a corresponding price. So from now on, you're not allowed to make wishes so casually anymore. But Ace showed a sulky expression again, saying that she always just scolded him. Clearly you got sick too, so you must have made the same wish as me. Although what Ace said made a lot of sense, Leia still used his young age as the reason. Then I can make a wish on my birthday, right? No. Even on your birthday, you can't make wishes. Ace became unhappy at once. Because on his birthday, he had made the wish to marry Leia. He was still going to make the same wish on his birthday next year. Leia had just had a serious look on her face, but the mood suddenly changed. She had never expected that this child was still hung up on the matter of marriage even now. Meanwhile, Ryan had just gotten out of bed when Lucy told him some tremendously good news. Before the prophecy descended, they had already obtained the consent papers for adoption from Ryan's royal father. But Ryan looked somewhat downcast. If we are separated, will you still always think of me as your child? For a moment, Lucy did not quite understand what that meant. Only then did Ryan say that he wanted to return to the kingdom. Lucy also understood that with the evil spirit descending again, these were all unavoidable things. She held the child's little hand. If you don't want to, then you don't have to force yourself. But if he did not go back, everyone would be put in a difficult position. And if he could awaken a power as well, then he would be able to protect Ace and his younger sisters. Julian looked at the child with heartache. Even so, there was no need to sacrifice yourself. But Ryan told him with absolute certainty that this was not a sacrifice, but so that everyone could live together more happily in the future. So, I will return to the kingdom together with the diplomatic mission. Leia, who had just happened to hear those words, rushed forward and grabbed Ryan by the collar. I absolutely will not let you go. Even if they want to send you away, you should desperately refuse. How can you be the one to say first that you want to leave? Ace also looked full of grievance. He truly could not understand why Ryan had to leave. Ryan gave Ace and Leia a big hug. Ryan also understood very clearly that the reason both of them had gotten sick was entirely because of him. But how did you know that both of us got sick? While I was unconscious, I had a very, very long dream. In the dream, someone who called himself Leia's friend told me. He also asked me to tell you this. Thank you for being willing to become his friend. The future has already changed. Although I will disappear, having you here is enough. Tears unconsciously slid from the corners of her eyes. Was it because she had changed the future that the original Leith would disappear? But she still did not understand why the current Ryan had to go back, no matter what. Because I also want everyone to become happy. So Leia, call me Big Brother one more time. If this was the life Ryan had firmly chosen for himself, then Leia would support him without the slightest hesitation. Because she had to atone, no matter what happened, you absolutely must not give up on yourself. Because she loved drinking coffee so much. After growing up, Leia secretly opened a coffee shop without telling anyone. With its unique taste, plus booming business, Leia often worked very late in the shop under another identity. Leia had just returned home when she happened to run into Ina, who had just gotten up. Ina enthusiastically gave her sister a snuggly hug. But why is your body so cold, big sister? Leia could only casually make up an excuse to brush it off. All right, Ina, let's go eat. Don't keep father and mother waiting too long. Seeing that her sister drank a cup of iced coffee every day, Ina also really wanted to have a taste. But Julian was still the same as before. Children should drink milk. But Roina was very unconvinced because she had heard that recently there was a particularly popular coffee shop in the shopping district and many people her age went there to drink coffee. However, she would never have imagined that the biggest shareholder of the coffee shop she was talking about was her elder sister sitting right in front of her at this very moment. Lucy, who could do absolutely nothing with Ina, had no choice but to agree to let her go to the coffee shop. Of course, Ina wanted her big sister to go along too. And Ace Gidge's birthday is coming up soon, so let's also go look for a birthday present while we're at it. Thinking about it carefully because of the shop's business lately, she really had not spent much time with Ina. But wasn't Ace's birthday still 2 months away? Wouldn't preparing a gift now be a little too early? How is that early? It's Ace Gidge's coming of age ceremony. And after Ace Gidge's birthday, it will be my birthday. Leia fondly pinched Ina's little cheek. So that's your real motive. It just so happened that Lucy and Julian would also be busy until very late today. They had been like this a lot lately. Although Ina did not know exactly what they were busy with every day, Leia knew very clearly that after Ace came of age, there would definitely be many nobles wanting to strengthen themselves through marriage alliances, so they had to deal with such matters in advance. Of course they would be busy, but that little crybaby, who used to be only this tiny, had actually grown up so quickly. She brought Ina to her own coffee shop, but her thoughts kept drifting uncontrollably to work. Ina's call interrupted Leia's absent-mindedness, something Ina wanted to say to her sister. She hesitated and stammered for a long while, but in the end still could not say it out loud. Ina, do you know what the most maddening thing is? She picked up a small piece of cake with her fork. It's when someone only says half of what they want to say. All right. Actually, she hoped Leia could have a proper rest today. Although we rarely come out to have fun together, big sister, you always look very tired. She lifted the coffee and took a gentle sip, but the taste was completely different from what she had imagined. So bitter, so bitter. By the way, big sister, have you decided what gift to give Ace Gidge? Leia had thought about that too. Something like cufflinks or a handkerchief should be fine, but Ina felt that those were all too ordinary. No matter what, this is Ace Gidge's coming of age ceremony. No matter what you give, big sister, he will be happy, but it would still be best to give something that looks a bit more thoughtful. Leia thought about it for a long time. A gift that could not be too exaggerated, could not be too ordinary, and also could not seem too intimate. Sure enough, cufflinks are still the best choice. After we finish our dessert, let's go look at gemstones. If you're choosing gemstones for cufflinks, then pick purple, big sister. But if I give him a gemstone that has the same eye color as mine, wouldn't that be the same as expressing that I'm interested in him? Wait, Ina, you don't think Ace and I are secretly dating, do you? Ina pouted. You go on dates every week, so how is that secretly dating? What dates? Big sister is just spending time with a little brat, okay? You're a 14-year-old child, so don't overthink things. But Ace really did not hide his feelings at all. And she had also gotten used to accepting his affection within an appropriate distance. Looking at it that way, it was no wonder Ina thought the two of them were in love with each other. That only because of family reasons were they unable to be together. By the way, Ace, I might have to give you your birthday present a little later. That's fine. You can give it later. But he also just happened to want to ask Leia for a different kind of gift. On the day of my coming of age ceremony, Could you wear the dress I picked out? Leia was full of question marks when she heard that. But wouldn't that turn into you giving me a gift instead? However, Ace did not think so. To him, as long as Leia could dress beautifully, that would be the best gift she could give him. Just imagining it already made his heart race.
As the main character of this banquet,
Ace stood in the center of the dance floor full of spirit. The Ace of today, although his personality still was not too different from the original story, was at least no longer that guy who foolishly smiled at everyone. Just as she had begun to feel somewhat relieved, that signature silly grin was exposed right in front of her again. It seemed she had indeed overthought things after all. Noticing her sister's evasive gaze, Aina became even more convinced of her guess. Big Sister and Ace Gidge must be dating. Leia had only just gone to change into her dress when Ace immediately followed right after. A tiara alone was already heavy enough, and with so much jewelry hanging on her too, Leia felt as if her neck were about to break. Seeing Ace look as if he wanted to say something but hesitated, there was no need to think to know what he was about to say next. She stretched her little hand toward him and beat him to it by saying the words for him. All right, I know I'm beautiful, so stop praising me already. The prince, with a silly grin all over his face, gently kissed the back of Leia's hand. How unbearably mushy. Though then again, it had not only been mushy for just 1 or 2 days. That was true too. The old little Ace was still cuter, always shouting that he wanted to marry me. Ace lowered his head in silence. After quite a while, as if he had finally gathered his courage, he carefully held her little hand, then gently brought his lips close to Leia's ear. Although I used to say those words all the time when I was little, recently, it really does seem like I've said them less. He turned his head away, always avoiding her gaze. Because we are no longer children now. But what does no longer being children have to do with whether I like you or not? Because of his identity as the prince, and as the royal family's only heir, he had carried many heavy responsibilities since childhood. Duty, responsibility, sacrifice. Just hearing those words was enough to make him annoyed. He did not want to become any emperor at all. He only hoped that the girl he loved could always stay by his side. Perhaps that was a little selfish, but from now on he no longer wanted to keep ignoring his own feelings. He took Leia's little hand. As the palace doors slowly opened, everyone's eyes fell upon the pair who were today's main characters. Like when they were children, they danced gracefully in the middle of the ballroom, until Leia's little feet began to ache. Ace wanted to take the girl home first, but Leia seemed to suddenly remember something and decided that from now on she had to drink alcohol on every birthday. Ace was a little puzzled. Wasn't she drinking some right now? No, not this kind of alcohol. I mean that strong kind, the kind that gets you dead drunk. Although he did not quite understand what Leia meant. Speaking of which, among the birthday gifts he had received, there really did seem to be a lot of alcohol. The two of them made their way all the way to Ace's room, looking at the fine food and drink on the table. Leia looked as greedy as a little kitten. Just looking at this color made it seem like it had to taste really good. She skillfully handed the wine glass in her hand to Ace. The crisp clink of their glasses sounded especially piercing in the quiet room. Strangely, after only drinking 1 cup, it felt like her whole body was already starting to get dizzy. But why did Leia look completely fine? Even though they had clearly drunk the same amount. Looking at the dizzy Ace, Leia put the crown from her own head onto his. Realizing that Leia was about to leave, Ace suddenly stood up, then put the crown back onto the girl's head again. Can I kiss you? Although she said no with her mouth, the heart that was practically about to leap out of her chest simply could not be suppressed. Then kissing is okay, right? You little brat, do you even know the difference between kissing and a peck? Of course. Without waiting for the girl to continue speaking, he cupped Leia's little face in both hands. And just like that, his entire lips fell onto hers. This is a peck. Next comes a kiss. In truth, what he wanted had never been only to marry Leia. Although he knew that making wishes would consume his life force, Ace still made the same wish every year. He hoped that the girl he liked would also come to like him in the same way. Looking at Ace, who was already dead drunk, Leia gently closed the door. You must be very happy, because your wish had already come true long ago. On the 3rd day, she suddenly woke up with a start from her sleep, completely without noticing exactly when she had gotten drunk. Recalling what had happened last night, that crybaby who had only ever followed behind her weeping since childhood had actually forcibly kissed her. What should she do now? She was clearly only a character who originally should never have existed. Noticing the note left on the floor, if the Chancellor and the second young lady go out, you must report it to me. This was a spy planted in their house by Marquis Igra. But for Leia, who had long been thoroughly familiar with the plot, she had already brought that spy completely to heel. Under Leia's threats and intimidation, the other party had been forced to become a double agent and report the actions on the other side to her in real time. In the original story, that person wanted to secretly kill Julian, leaving only Aina, the sole heir of the ducal house. Because Marquis Igra and Julian were political enemies, and only Aina had awakened to power, there was simply no need to let Julian, that obstructive chancellor, continue living. And when she had originally set up these people, it had only been so that Aina could awaken her power. But because of her own appearance, that person now wanted to get rid of Aina as well. After all, the ducal house had 2 heirs, and Leia was the first to receive the prophecy, so everyone believed that the one who would awaken would be her. Marquis Igra wanted to place his own daughter in the position of queen, and to him, both Ina and Julian would become stumbling blocks. Although she could stop this assassination attempt, she still had to come up with a way as soon as possible and could not keep remaining passive. Mia suddenly came to Leia's room with Ina, smelling the strong scent of alcohol on her sister. Ina was still very curious whether Ace Gidge and her sister had kissed yesterday after all. Leia had absolutely no idea why Ina would suddenly ask something like that, but Ina showed a very disappointed expression. Big brother clearly said that on his birthday he would kiss you. That bastard Ace really said that to you? Only then did she realize that last night had not been an accident at all, but something that Crybaby had planned long ago. Seeing Leia's reaction, Mia sighed helplessly. It looked like it was probably not just a kiss and nothing more. Holding her aching head, my young lady actually caused trouble by getting drunk. Mia had come this time for Leia's coming-of-age ceremony. Although there were still more than 6 months until Leia's birthday, the guest list still had to be drawn up in advance. She absent-mindedly nodded, but she really did have one person she wanted to invite separately, in order to properly deal with the matter of Marquis Igra's household. Leia arranged to meet Marquis Igra's daughter, Lena, alone, but Lena truly could not understand it. She and Leia clearly did not have any particularly close relationship. Yet today the other party had reserved the entire garden and invited only her alone. May I ask what matter the young lady has with me? Leia did not want to continue with too much polite small talk. There are only the two of us here. I came to see you because I want to ask what you think of guardians. Although I don't know what kind of answer you want to hear, I think guardians are accessories of this world. Other than that, she really could not think of any other answer. Is Miss Theo so wary of me because of the position of Crown Princess? I have never coveted the position of Crown Princess. I only want to show my loyalty and restore the past glory of the Marquis's house. Leia also knew very clearly that Lena was nothing more than a puppet in the Marquis's hands. Putting down the flower tea in her hand. Lena, do you want to be buried together with Marquis Igra's house? Or do you want to destroy your own kin for the sake of righteousness and save your own life? What you just said was right. The 3 great families must protect this world. And no matter what happens, the families must continue. The guardians are our generation, so even if the previous generation that gave birth to the heirs is gone, it does not matter. Or rather, if there are 2 heirs, then if one dies, that is also not a problem. But who would think that way? Lena simply could not understand what Leia meant by those words. However, the answer Leia gave next struck Lena like a bolt from the blue and filled her heart with fear and unease. Her own father had actually harbored the intention to kill Duke Theo, but wouldn't that be equivalent to treason? The entire family would be implicated. She absolutely would not allow such a thing to happen. So even if it meant destroying her own kin for the sake of righteousness, she had to stop her father. But Leia told her there was no need for that. Even if she did not stop Marquis Igra, nothing would happen to Julian, because Ina was about to awaken the power of healing. This was a fate that could not be reversed. Then what exactly did you call me here to do? Lena only felt that her brain was no longer enough for this. I want to save you. What Leia could currently be sure of was that fate could be changed, and she wanted to make Lena her test subject. Maybe I can not only save your life, but also let you keep your family. So from now on, listen carefully to what I'm about to say. To get a little closer to the girl he liked, the prince kept it a secret from everyone in the kingdom. He secretly moved into the girl's home. In order to grow closer to the girl more quickly, Ace took the initiative to invite Leia to practice swordsmanship together. Ever since they grew up, the two really had never practiced swordsmanship alone together again. And over the past few days, watching Ace while he trained also gave Leia a feeling as if a lifetime had passed. Then I'll have a good time playing with you. She simply loosened up her body a little. Generally speaking, descendants of Azar like Ace, who symbolize protection, have almost no weaknesses at all. Leia launched the first attack. Ace also had absolutely not expected that Leia would launch an offensive head-on. After all, in terms of strength alone, there was no way she could beat him. But at the same moment Leia swung her sword, she also viciously stomped on Ace's foot. Taking advantage of the instant Ace stepped back, Leia threw away the wooden sword in her left hand and slammed a fierce punch toward him. Although Ace had already completely neutralized Leia's attack, he did not immediately counterattack, because if you even throw away your sword during sparring, Leia, however, harshly taught him a lesson. Have you misunderstood something? What we're going to fight are not humans, but evil spirits. Rather than calling this sparring, it would be more accurate to say that Leia was teaching him. And the result this time was already obvious. Leia was right. It seemed that from now on, he really did need to adjust his training methods a little. Very soon, it was Ayane's 15th birthday. Looking at her younger sister, who was making a wish, Leia also quietly made a wish of her own. She hoped that every wish Ina made would come true. And the overly enthusiastic Pyrrhus, along with Ace, who kept staring at her, this father and son had practically already treated her as their future wife and daughter-in-law. After today, our Ina should also make her official debut in society. But Ina had not made any preparations at all. She could only use Leia as a shield, saying that this year they had already held the coming-of-age ceremonies for her sister and brother Ace, so it would not matter if hers was postponed until next year. And besides, holding so many large events all at once really was not very appropriate. Ace took out the birthday gift he had prepared long ago. It was a pair of matching couple earrings, just like Leia's. And this gift, which looked perfectly ordinary, actually hid a great deal of thought behind it. Once Ina got her ears pierced, she would have to wear earrings the whole month, and Ina, who loved acting spoiled toward her most of all, would definitely pull her to wear identical earrings with her. This guy really is a headache. Although Ryan could not personally attend Ina's birthday banquet, he had someone deliver the gift he had carefully prepared. Looking somewhat blankly at the gift Ryan had sent, she did not know how much longer it would be before she could see him again. Seeing Ina looking a little sad, Leia could only comfort her by saying that since he had already awakened his ability, he should be back very soon. But she knew very clearly in her heart that before Ryan took the kingdom, he would not return. Whether Ace or Ryan, both of them had already changed. Most likely, they would not see Ryan again until the third guardian awakened. And when the third guardian awakened, it would also mean that the full-scale war with the evil spirits was not far away. Pyrrhus proposed that they could go visit Ryan's kingdom. Although the domestic situation would not allow both of them to leave at the same time, having one of them visit as a representative of the diplomatic delegation would also be a very good experience. Ace originally wanted to give this opportunity to Leia, but Leia felt that Ace was the one more suited to serving as envoy to the neighboring kingdom. After all, up to now, Ace had always lived in a world that was far too kind. Letting him personally see the world Ryan lived in was also an indispensable experience for his growth. Watching the older sister, who loved her most, collapse in a pool of blood, Ina awakened her ability for the first time. Even though Leia repeatedly told her father that he absolutely had to stop Ina, she did not want her younger sister to lose her lifespan because of her. But looking at Leia, whose life was hanging by a thread, she was also his most beloved precious daughter, so there was absolutely no way he could just stand by and watch. Ina, listen to me. The only person who can save your sister is you, because she was familiar with the plot of the original work. Today was exactly the day Ina and Julian would be attacked while out on an excursion. At the same time, this was also the day Ina would awaken her healing ability. In order to protect her younger sister's safety, Leia of course had to stay by her side. Ina, who had already wanted her sister to stay with her, therefore became even happier. Looking at the pierced ears on Ina's ears, those were the earrings Ace had given before, identical to Leia's. Julian suddenly appeared from behind. Ina also wanted to call brother Ace along, but the man looked displeased and said, "What are you calling him for?" He had only moved into their house for 1 month, but both of his daughters were already practically being stolen away by him. The carriage slowly moved along the silent forest path. Ina hummed a cheerful little tune the whole way, because this was her first carriage, and also the first time she had gone on an outing together with her father and sister. But noticing that Leia beside her did not seem right, she thought her sister was carsick. Julian also noticed the girl's complexion was off because she looked far too pale. She really was about to go crazy. Was it really that obvious from the way she was acting? Clutching those hands that would not stop trembling tightly, she only hoped all of this could end quickly. How about we stop first and rest a bit before continuing? But Leia, who suddenly hugged Ina tightly, did not feel the pain she had expected. It turned out that Julian had blocked the assassin's sneak attack for them. Although it hurt a little, fortunately the injury was not serious. Leaning gently close to her father's ear, "If something happens later, you must stop Ina." After saying that, she stood up and, under the protection of the attendants, climbed out of the carriage. Leia originally wanted to hold Ina's hand, but what no one expected was that the assassin launched another attack again. Looking at Leia lying on the ground and the blood continuously pouring out, Julian only felt as if his heart were about to shatter. He tightly held Leia's body. "My child will definitely be all right." And at that very moment, Ina actually awakened her healing ability. Julian looked at everything before him in disbelief, recalling what Leia had just said. Could it be that she had already known all of this long ago? But if she knew beforehand, why did she not stop it and instead let herself get hurt? Once an ability is overused, there will definitely be side effects, and Leia did not want Ina to shorten her lifespan to save her. Gently setting Leia down from his arms, at this point, whether Leia had known about this beforehand or not was no longer important. Holding Ina by both shoulders, "Ina, listen to me. We have to save your sister, and for this, Dad is going to pull the arrow out of your sister first, and then you will use your ability to heal her." Staring fixedly at her own pair of hands filled with power, she had never been as determined as she was now.
"I can do it, Dad."
When Julian pulled the sharp arrow out of Leia's body, Ina immediately released her own power. A powerful magical aura wrapped around the girl's whole body. Although the wound on her neck was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye, cold sweat was also continuously running down Ina's body. Seeing this, Julian hurriedly stopped her. "That's enough. Ina, she should already be all right now." In order to prevent the assassins from attacking again, Julian still decided to send knights to escort Ina away first. He had to guarantee his daughter's safety. But the injured Leia could not ride a horse, so he had to stay here and guard Leia. Fortunately, Lucy arrived in time with the knights. Meanwhile, after Ace learned the entire course of events, he always felt that Leia seemed to know many things, but why had she never told any of us? When Leia woke up from unconsciousness, she saw Ina and Lucy still lying by her bedside, and the moment she noticed her sister had awakened, Ina used her power once again. Leia wanted to stop her, but could not make a sound at all. Only then did she learn from the doctor that her vocal cords might have been damaged, but fortunately, The wound on her neck had already begun to heal, so as long as she rested for a while, she would recover. And seeing Julian so distressed, Leia understood that she had to say something, but she did not know how to comfort him. After all, she had originally been a character who did not exist, but it was only because she wanted to take responsibility for this story that she came to have this kind of life. But precisely because of this way of thinking over the past 20 years, she had never truly faced these family members directly. "I'm really sorry." The girl slowly drifted back to sleep. When she woke again, it was already evening. Wanting to look at her own injury, she was tightly held by a pair of large hands. "Your vocal cords are damaged. If you want to recover, it's best not to speak for the time being. Though from how things look now, it seems you really can't speak anyway." Holding the girl's little hand with heartache. Even though only a week had passed, the girl he cherished had already grown much thinner. No matter what, he had to nurse her back again. Aina was also by her side, so as long as they endured a few more months, Leia would definitely recover her health. Looking at Ace as tears fell, Leia's small hand gently moved across the boy's palm. She did not want Ace to shed tears because of her. "But aren't you the one who made me cry? You know me too well, but I don't understand you at all." That made him feel afraid. But none of that was important now. He only hoped that the girl before him would never be hurt again, and could stay by his side forever. After a period of rest, Leia's injuries had already completely recovered. But because Ayane's ability had awakened, Julian also very much wanted to know what the first prophecy she had once received actually was. After all, Leia seemed as if she had long known Aina would awaken. It seemed that this time she really could not keep it hidden anymore. Compared to a prophecy, what Petisha had given her back then was more like a request. She hoped that Leia could change the future and save the world. In the near future, before the war with the evil spirits begins, the Guardians will face the danger of being killed by humans. But aren't the Guardians supposed to protect humans? Aina really could not understand why this was, but what she did not know was that all of this was plot she had personally written. And the villain who had originally hoped for the destruction of this world was precisely the male lead, Ryan. And the one who created the male lead was precisely this world as well. Pinned forcefully against the wall by the girl he had secretly loved for a long time, the crybaby prince's handsome face instantly turned red, as if burning with a 90-degree fever. He still always felt that Leia was somewhat different from before, but the boy, who only cared about being shy, did not notice Aina suddenly appear behind him at all. Looking at Brother Ace's face red like an apple, there was no need to think to know what had just happened. But of course the crybaby prince would not admit it so easily. And ever since feeling the care from her family, Leia had finally clearly realized that whether it was her family in reality or the characters she had written, she loved them all deeply. Over the following days, Ace stayed by Leia's side every single step of the way. After all, the girl's body was still very weak, and he did not want Leia to suffer even the slightest harm again. But the girl, greedy for snacks, still wanted to secretly eat a little dessert. "Then let's go on a date." Faced with Ace's utterly bottomless indulgence, Leia happily wrapped her arms around the boy's arm. "It's so good to have you." Meanwhile, Ryan, who was still in the neighboring kingdom, was at this time staying with his half-brother. How rare. I never expected Father Emperor to summon both of us at the same time. Along the way, his younger brother kept chattering to Ryan about all sorts of things. He noticed the sword hanging at his older brother's waist. It was something he had never seen before. It was also a belated birthday gift. He also knew very clearly that his brother's heart seemed never to have been here. But clearly I am his younger brother. Watching his two sons slowly walk over, the king hesitated for a long time with the secret letter in his hand before finally passing it to Ryan. And right after he finished reading all of its contents, his clenched fist trembled uncontrollably. "I can't play with you today, Abe, another day." Originally, he had thought the Empire would be very safe, but now Theo's family had actually also been attacked. Not only had Leia been injured, Aina had also awakened her ability. Although he knew Leia was very capable, he still could not help worrying. Seeing the prince's unstable emotions, "If your highness is truly worried, you could personally make a trip to the Empire." But Ryan could not do that. Even at the fastest speed, it would still take 4 months to get there, and he could not leave the palace for that long. Looking at the white roses that had already bloomed, Ryan gently plucked one with his fingertips. This was a flower he planned to give Leia. He had heard that if dried, the fragrance could be preserved a bit longer. And because of that, his office was already filled with white roses. If others found out that Prince Ryan's hobby was actually flower arranging, they would certainly be greatly shocked. And this hobby only existed because of the flower crown Leia had once placed on him with her own hands. After transmigrating into a character who should not have existed in the original story, who would have expected that she would accidentally capture the heart of an innocent prince? And after growing up, Leia finally frankly spoke her feelings as well. Every day she kissed, hugged, and lifted the boy up. And faced with Leia's various straightforward flirtations, Ace, who had loved the girl deeply since childhood, naturally would not refuse. Very soon, it was Leia's 20th birthday. Early in the morning, before the girl had even woken up, she was forcibly called out of bed. After the maids helped her get dressed, she still put on the tiara Ace had given her before, because she had decided to confess to him today. So makeup alone was far from enough. She also wanted to dress herself up as beautifully as possible. That way, Ace would probably like her even more. But hadn't brother Ace already given his whole heart to sister long ago? And precisely because of that, she wanted to do this even more. A burst of knocking at the door interrupted their conversation. Hedisha, from whom there had been no news, had finally sent a letter too. After dismissing the others around her, Leia opened the envelope by herself. The wish she had once made to Leia was that she wanted to live the life of an ordinary person, even if only for one day. But now, she could no longer leave the temple, because Priest Lumos did not have much time left. And she also had to remain in the temple and guard him until his final moment. So, let her previous promise be postponed until the time the evil spirits descend. But Leia naturally did not want that. If possible, she hoped Pedisha could forever live the life she truly wanted. However, over these 15 years, her changes really had not been small, and Aina, who had been hiding outside the door and eavesdropping, as expected, was caught red-handed by Leia on the spot. "I was only reading a letter." By eavesdropping outside, what could you even hear? That is still better than doing nothing at all. She was truly afraid that her sister would suddenly leave her side. Leia gently soothed the little Aina before her with 3 light pats. "No, I won't. Even if I really do leave, I will definitely come back very soon, because this place is our home." Looking at Leia after she had carefully dressed up, Ace was not stingy with his praise at all. The girl mischievously jumped in front of Ace. "Today, I won't just peck you, I'll kiss you too." And Aina, who just happened to pass by at the wrong time, truly did not want to enter together with these two at all. And at this birthday banquet, Leia warmly invited Aina to dance the first dance with her. But the somewhat jealous prince only sat to one side in satisfaction after the girl compensated him with a kiss. And the girl, who suddenly ran up to start talking, immediately drew Leia's attention. As if declaring ownership, she shielded Ace behind her. But when she clearly saw that girl's exquisitely beautiful face, she still could not help blushing and having her heart race. She was just too beautiful. "I've heard that if the birthday star gives you a kiss, good luck will come." Leia, who wanted to lean in and kiss someone, was pulled back by Ace in one motion. This was simply too embarrassing. After finally bringing Leia outside, Ace again remembered the teasing words the girl had spoken before the dance began. "Exactly when? Are you planning to kiss me?"